today's topic, we're going to be talking about scaling and scaling up big and then being able to make all this stuff happen. So that if you are into multifamily, which if you're here, obviously you are, but you're going to get a ton of jewels from today and today's guests. All right. So we got Julia coming in at South Fulton, Georgia. Come on. We got Kentucky. Kentucky's with us today. All right, cool. Let's keep it going. So who am I? What are we doing? Why am I talking to you, right? If you're new here, you haven't been a part of the Multifamily Code, you just joined the group, whatever, just checking it out for the first time. My name is Jason Stubblefield. I've been doing apartments since 2016. We've grown our portfolio. We currently have deals that we do. If you want to know a little bit more about me and our company, let me go ahead and do a quick screen share. So what you're seeing on your screen right now is snscapitalpartners.com. So that's like Sam, Nancy, Sam, capitalpartners.com. You can learn more about our company, see some of the projects that we've done. We also have some investors that have left us reviews. Speaking of investors, if you are looking for passive investments, you want to put your money to work for you, you go to snscapitalpartners.com, you click on the Invest tab. Once you do that, you'll get this little form to fill out. So you fill that out, puts you in our network, right? Because once you become a part of our network, now we can send you deals to see if they fit your criteria. If you're not, if you're not a part of this, you're probably not hearing about those deals as they become available. So that's just a brief introduction to us. What we do here at the Multifamily Code, this is all about sharing information and being able to provide a community, a context from which you can be either an experienced multifamily investor or an up-and-coming multifamily investor and take away great tips to go ahead and help you expand in your business and career. So, however, if you could go ahead and monitor the group, just sort of let me know about Facebook. I can't watch two different live streams at the same time. I get confused, so I might miss them. But I will say this: if you are attending and you have questions, right? Last thing I want for you is that you take time out of your busy Friday, join a webinar like this, and then not get your question answered. So if you could go ahead and drop that question in the chat, if you have something, we'll try to get back to it at the end of the call. Without further ado, I want to go ahead and talk about, I guess, so I just met this brother like a week or so ago, reached out, had a conversation. I was blown away, right? He's taken the multifamily industry by storm, really been able to explode a portfolio in a relatively short period of time. I mean, 2.5 years. He's been able to go ahead and build his platform to 3,000, right? We got Rasul 3,000, right? Not Andre 3,000. We got Rasul 3,000 who'll be coming in sharing with us today. So I'm excited about that. Rasul, you're there, man. So let me go ahead and make you co-host and go ahead and just give a brief introduction, if you will.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me on here, Jason. Happy to see everybody. Oh, can you hear me? Is my audio coming through?
Yep, you're coming through. I got you.
Okay, good. Yeah, man. Good morning. Happy Friday to everybody. It's an honor to be here. I see the stuff that Jason's been doing in multifamily. When I saw somebody else out there that looks like me, I was like, man, let me go and talk to this. I mean, we look a little too similar, right? You know, so let's get multifamily man and everything. But yeah, in the industry, one of the things that stands out to me is that there's not a lot of folks that look like us. So I was very, very happy to connect, reach out, and see how we collaborate, how I could help you, achieve your goals, because I do own some property out in Atlanta as well. But yeah, a quick tidbit about me, guys. I did start very recently in multifamily. I first learned about multifamily investing in the summer of 2020. And when I figured that out, I was like, it expanded my mind to the possibilities of what could possibly be done in real estate. So at the time, I only had a 2-unit. I had a duplex. I was running as an Airbnb down here in Miami. And I was up to my head in, headaches, meetings, dealing with guests, property management woes. I was paying a ton for property management. They weren't doing anything. And I was basically spinning my wheels in real estate until I learned about multifamily investing. And then when I learned the way that people are actually growing and scaling their portfolios, I took everything that I had, everything that I learned, all the connections that I was making, all the people that I could help. And that's really what the whole multifamily industry is about. It's about helping, building relationships, and adding value to other people so that you can achieve your goals the same. So that's what I've been doing, focusing on a lot for the last 2 years. And yeah, I hit it really hard out the gates that first year. I wanted to go ahead and make sure that I didn't give myself an option for failure that first year.
Awesome, awesome. So tell me more about that, right? What did that first year look like for you, from going from not being a multifamily investor into someone who's obviously grown in the space like you have now? Like what did you do? What sort of actions did you take?
Well, I guess I can preface that with, that's a very good question. My journey, for me, I don't know if anybody else can relate to this, but I started in multifamily when I was 36. But by that time, I had been trying and failing in multiple different businesses for about 15 years. I've tried to do different side hustles. I'm licensed in life insurance. I had my real estate license, which I realized being a realtor is not being a real estate investor, completely different things. I did some MLMs, used to sell Herbalife, Legal Shield. I mean, I tried a lot of things, all right, over the years, because I know that there's a better life out there. I know that if I hustle and I grind and I was an entrepreneur, self-made man, I can go and figure it out. But nothing ever clicked for me. And ultimately I gave up and I decided to climb the 9 to 5 route. So I currently work as a senior financial analyst. And once I got to the point where I was making 6 figures a year, I realized that this is it. This is the ceiling. Like, once they get you to just over 100 grand, man, I mean, I got to wait for somebody to die or retire before I can move up anymore. And I'm trapped. I'm trapped again. But so this time around, by the time I hit 36, I figured out this whole real estate thing. The very first thing that I would say that mattered the most, other than my experience of trying and failing over and over and over for over a decade, is getting educated is the number one thing. You have to understand the multifamily industry and how these properties work, why they work, why people are willing to put tens of millions of dollars aside of their hard-earned cash and just leave it with somebody, and to just grow and cash flow from and appreciate, and they get bonus depreciation, all those other benefits that come with it. Like, why does all that work? How does it work? So when I got educated and I figured it all out, then for me, it was a matter of, okay, cool. I know why multifamily works. I know what it is. I understand it. How do I get involved being somebody new who has no experience whatsoever? I had to figure out what my skill sets were. For me personally, I'm very good in math and analysis. So underwriting was my superpower. That's my skill set. And I didn't, in the beginning, like trying to find deals, right? Try to talk to brokers, try to talk to other operators, and just that wasn't my whole thing. I'm good at talking to people, but I just didn't want to do that. I wanted to stay where I was the strongest and where there wasn't a lot of people doing it. And with underwriting, if you're really good and solid at analyzing properties, then you're only contending with like a few really strong people out there, right? There's a lot of bad buyers out there, but you don't want to be one of them. You want to be a strong buyer. You want to be able to explain to investors, proficiently and ethically why you believe an investment opportunity is a good deal. And I believe that going really hard in underwriting is the thing that helped me grow the fastest. So what I did was I basically pimped myself out as an underwriter. Every time I met somebody, a networking event, virtual event or whatever, hey man, if you ever need some help running your deals and having a professional analysis done, I will do that for you. And in the beginning, I was just trying to add value to as many people as I possibly could. So I would actually sit on the phone or on a Zoom call for probably an hour, 2 hours sometimes, breaking down the underwriting of a particular deal to each individual person that I met with. Right. My wife thought I was wasting my time. She's like, these people aren't paying you anything, this and that, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, no, I mean, I'm adding value. I'm putting it out there because I knew the numbers behind multifamily, right? It takes, and maybe Jason, you have a different experience having one singular market. But for me, I had to look at 100 deals, give or take, to find one deal that worked. Right. That was the math for me. And so when I set my goals for 2021, I was like, my stretch goals at the time when I had nothing, I had the 2 unit. I was like, the thing that would make me be absolutely like over the moon, like feel like I was a complete success, is if I ended 2021 with 200 doors and about $10 million of real estate. I was focusing in the Midwest and Ohio. I live in Miami where things are way too overpriced. They're like 2 caps and nothing really makes sense. Still doesn't make sense to me today. Despite the fact that I see people buying out there. So I focused on the Midwest. In my mind, I was like, all right, 4 50-unit deals will get me there. If I needed to underwrite 100 deals to find one, that's 400 deals in 365 days. I got to go 7 days a week, which I absolutely did. I was a little bit insane with it. I set my wife down. I set all that up. I was like, look, babe, this is not going to be sustainable. This is not for the rest of our lives. This is just for this 1 year. Let me not fail at multifamily the way that I failed and given up on everything else that I've tried before this. So for me, this was like, this is it. I burned my boats. This is the one thing that I'm saying, this has to work. I cannot quit. I can't fail. So looking at underwriting 400 deals in 365 days, that's like, all right, that's going to be like 1 and some change every single day. Let me just bump that up to 3 to 5. That's what I really tried to do, is full underwriting 3 to 5 every single day. You know, Monday through Friday. On Saturday and Sunday, my parents would come over, come visit the grandkid. And, you know, I'd give them a hug and a kiss. Love you guys. I got work to do. I locked myself in the office and, you know, just gave up and sacrificed a lot of that family time and all that stuff. So, well, the math still works out. And if I'm underwriting about 3 deals a day, that's probably why when I ended my first year, I ended up with 858 doors. I did a 42 unit, 76, 48, 18 unit, 121, 166, and a 387. All right. And it's kind of like, you know, people hear about that in my first year. Like how does that happen? Like it's not like one deal just happens and the next deal happens. Between the first passive investment that I did in October of 2020 to really learn the business, it was about 8 months before that first deal even came around. So the whole time, 7 days a week, networking, adding value, underwriting, showing people how I analyze deals, showing people how I look at these opportunities and why I think things work and why I think things don't work. I developed a bit of a reputation. One, people called me deal killer because I shut down everything just about, right? But I think over that time, I analyzed probably 600-700 deals. I'd have to go back and count all the files and folders that I have all over. But I went through a very good chunk of them in that first year, and then much more of the same in the second year in 2022. I think I did about, if I did 800, then I guess I did 2,700 in the second. No, 2,300. Yeah. In the second year.
All right. So you committed to underwriting 3 deals a day, right?
Yeah.
And if I heard you right, it took you 8 months before you got your first deal.
Correct.
So you're cranking through about 21 deals a week, and just for the other people, how long does it take you to underwrite a deal thoroughly?
Now, I've got systems, I've got teams in place. If I was going to do it myself, start to finish, it'd probably take me about an hour and a half. But right now, I crank through with the help of my team. I can thumbs up or thumbs down a deal in about 5 minutes.
Gotcha. So back then, you were doing like about an hour and a half when it's just you.
Oh yeah,
right.
Yeah, okay. Because you got to remember. So this is how it would work, right? Say I meet you in a Zoom call. We hit it off. You're like, oh wow, this dude's really sharp. He knows what he's talking about. And I say, hey Jason, next time you have a deal, man, and you want some help analyzing it, let me know. So some time will pass. You'll end up finding a deal. You email it to me, and then we set up another Zoom call just like this. We'll hop on. I'll share my screen and show you my underwriting model. At the time, I was using Michael Blanc, which is a very popular deal analyzer. I think I like that one the most because it's not too simplified where I'm missing some variables, and it's not overly complex. Like the things that I can't do in Michael Blanc it's okay. I don't need like an institutional type of underwriting model to go through most deals that I see, because people aren't really having complex deal structures with like hurdles and promotes and all sorts of stuff that I have to utilize in there, or even loan assumptions.
Yep. Okay.
I'd sit on a Zoom with you, and we would go through the whole entire thing, start to finish. I'd analyze the market, because again, I was looking at markets that were not my own. So I'd have to do crime reports. I'd look at labor statistics. I would look at income. I'd look at crime, and then I would get into the deal. Because if none of those things in the first 5 minutes didn't work, then I wouldn't even go through. Right? If there's gunshots everywhere all over the crime map, if the income is like $20,000 median household, I'm not gonna buy there.
Right.
Because I don't
Yeah, that's a huge clue, right? You already had your criteria to know how to disqualify a deal. I think in the very beginning, as you get started, right, you just want to go, you just need to understand the process. But once you understand the process, you have to know what you're looking for. That's one of the things I preach on, right? Know what you're looking for, looking at a deal, so that when you find that this is not what I'm looking for, you can easily disqualify and go on to the next one. But no, I love that, and I love your tenacity, man. Like to be able to go to your wife, being a family man, I know how hard that is to say, baby, look, I'm about to be crap, right? For the most part, for the next year, because I want to be doing this. But, believe in me, and we'll go ahead and have a different life, right? And you did that. So before we move on from underwriting, I guess with you having underwritten that many deals, what would you say is the 1 to 3 things that you would recommend somebody to do or sort of look out for as they are underwriting deals?
Well, it really depends market to market. But if I think about general rules of thumb, first things first, 1% rule. I love that. The closer you can get to 1%. And for you guys who are listening, who are new, who don't understand what that is, if you look at the monthly rents that you can achieve, or what you're currently achieving, not what your pro forma is going to be, but what your current effective rents are, you take those rents, call it $1,000 a month in place rents, and you divide that by the cost per unit of that asset. So let's just say the property is selling for $100,000 a door. That 1,000 divided by 100,000 is 1%. That would tell me when I'm looking at it that most likely it's worth looking into, because that 1% mathematically will translate into covering all of your mortgage costs. It'll cover your insurance, your expenses, your property management. You'll have enough to pay your investors and have a decent return to hit that 15% IRR, 7-8% cash on cash. Like all of that goes into the 1% rule. And that's a very broad statement because it really depends on what market you're in. But as a rule of thumb, for most people all over the country, that's probably the number one thing that I'd look out for as a litmus test. And the farther away from that 1% that I am to the downside, the less likely I am to be enthused about the deal. If I find something that's like, 0.3%, let's say the in-place rents were 300 and the cost was, or I won't even do that because that's not realistic. Let's say the rents are $1,000, but I'm paying $300,000 a door, right? That 0.3 is like, nah, it's just not going to work. I understand that carrying a mortgage on a property that costs $300,000 a door is so high that I need to make more than $1,000 a month per unit in order to pay that note, let alone pay for the expense of the property, and much less, get my investors no money in the first few years while I'm trying to do a value add on there. Now, there's exceptions to every rule, but 1% rule I think is a very good thing. Second thing, population trends. If you're buying a property that is in a city where the population is trending down, then you're going to have a problem of oversupply and low demand, which the whole entire premise of multifamily investing is predicated on the fact that we're buying in a scarce environment and improving it and making it a lot nicer. So you want people to be competing to live in your place, not running like really high vacancy and racing the other landlords to the bottom on who can lower their rents first to increase their occupancy, right? I'm actually dealing with that in one of my properties that I learned early on. It was a really, really good deal in the model. I thought it was a no-brainer, but it was a tertiary market in a blue state, and yeah, it's rough, man. My pro formas of 750 are now down to about 600, 650. Still cash flowing more because the whole business plan on that one property in particular was about adding 4 extra units, which we did. So we are cash flow positive on that one finally, even with three vacants. But it's very challenging to lease up properties when the population is dwindling. So that's probably, I would probably put that over the 1% rule. That's number one, is population. Right.
Yep.
And then the third thing is, if you really want a really good, strong property where you have a low chance of failure, I would look at what's happening workforce wise. What companies are moving in, right? Tesla is coming in. A lot of the Silicon Valley tech companies are moving into Texas. Why is Texas blowing up? Why are most of my holdings in Texas? Right? For that very same reason. I have 104 units I bought in San Marcos last year. I got 369 and 198 in Austin, and 374 in Houston, 387 in Houston, 260 in Houston. I'm under contract with another 260 in Houston, and a 241 in Dallas. Like, I've got a lot in Texas, just because that's where the money's going. That's where the people are going. And as a matter of fact, if you look at as a bonus thing to look for to figure out where population trends and where people are going for either workforce or for any reason whatsoever, look at U-Haul statistics, because they put out reports about where all the U-Hauls are going, right? And they track one-way U-Haul rentals. And I think the top two are Florida and Texas, right? All these baby boomers are retiring. And I don't know about you guys, man, but I've got advanced knees from the military. So when it gets cold, I used to live in Kansas City. When it gets cold, man, your bones hurt. So a lot of these boomers, when they're getting ready to retire, they're like, I don't have to live in this overpriced place in New York or Chicago or whatever. They're going to move down to where it's warm so they can live their life and not be in pain. That's why I live in Miami, at least. So
Yeah, I get that, man. So it looks like you made a very strategic decision to just focus on underwriting. Um, with that, with the number of units you've done, you've obviously struck up a lot of partnerships. Can you
yep.
talk a little bit about how you had this goal of doing so many deals and your process of just learning one aspect, right? Because it appears to me like you're like, hey, I'm going to own this skill set, and then I want to
Yep.
create partnerships. And I just talked with somebody about this, but I want to hear your perspective on it, about making that decision, what you're going to do and how you're going to be involved in so many deals.
Yeah. Well, honestly, it all kind of played off of each other. The decision to go into underwriting was simply just me finding a way to add the highest amount of value that I could to the most number of people. Everybody and their mom out there is trying to, bird dog a deal. I get email blasts all the time with these fake daisy chainers who are saying, oh yeah, I've got this 300 unit property and blah, blah, blah. All it costs, $25 million plus a 3% buyer's fee. I'm like, first of all, you don't have that property under contract, so you're not wholesaling it. Second of all, you're acting as a broker without a license, which is illegal. And third of all, 3% of a buyer's fee is never going to happen, right? Because as a syndicator, like me and my partners, my whole entire company, everybody involved in that deal, we charge a 2% acquisition fee. And you're telling me you want 3% for forwarding an email? I mean, people don't think about these kinds of things, but so I knew for me, like, everybody's trying to hawk a deal. I didn't want to be in that pool, that group of people or anything like that. It would take, in order to play big in that arena, it would take a lot of time, reputation. Having a broker license is probably the easiest way to be involved in that. So for me, it was just over and inundated. It was red ocean, right? I was looking for the blue ocean. For me, it was the analytical part. And being so analytical and breaking down how multifamily opportunities and how these apartments worked, how they functioned as a form of financial freedom for people with retirement goals, and having those conversations with people and figuring out what they wanted and truly building up passive income for themselves, it led me into having more conversations from the role of a capital raiser. So being an underwriter was cool. But raising the capital is really where I kind of struck gold, because I was commanding millions of people's dollars and putting them into the right deals and working with them. So that is, and I'll say, because this is being recorded, full disclosure, just so you guys understand, you can't just be a capital raiser on a multifamily syndication and get away with it, because you need to have some sort of other role, which is why I do acquisitions, underwriting, investor relations. I do all these other outside things besides raising the money, because it's a violation to earn a commission off of an amount being raised, if that makes sense, right? You need a license, like an RAA, like a retirement investment advisor. You need like a Series 65. You can have other financial licenses that allow you to do it. I have a life insurance license, but that doesn't qualify me for earning commissions. Because remember I told all those other things that I used to do. I still carry my life insurance license too. So as I grew my investor pool and was able to bring, $500,000, $1 million to every single deal that I was underwriting and looking at and that I really liked, then that was, that became the big thing. As interest rates were really low, deals were very hard to find because everybody's buying everything and there's a lot of competition. We're coming to a point in the economy and in the industry where interest rates are going to peak out most likely in the next 6 months to a year or so, maybe even 18 months. Either way, it's a very short time horizon if you look at the grand scheme of things on a 10-year time horizon. In the very near future, interest rates are going to start inverting. They're going to come back down. Cap rates are going to start compressing once again. Values going to be going up. But in that little interim, when it's changing over, it's going to flip. Money is hard to find now, and then deals are going to be all over the place. Right. So being able to be a deal finder in the coming future is going to be very profitable for people getting into the industry, because it's going to be hard to sift through everything that's coming due. And I feel like that window is going to be very short. People talk about 08, 09, and we didn't really fully recover from that until about 2010, 2011. I feel like this opportunity, this window, might be for 1, maybe 2 years, as opposed to the 3 or 4 years that it was back in the day on the last recession.
No, I get that 100%, man. You might be living my entire life just down in Miami, man. Like so many similar things. Like I became a real estate agent. I was selling all type of legal and prepaid. I was crap, failing entrepreneur trying to get stuff done, focus on the underwriting. I think you got a software background, all that stuff, man. So great. Last question. Then I want to try to let you get out of here. We got maybe one or two questions, but I want to respect your time, man. You mentioned the capital raising. Can you talk a little bit more about that? How you develop that? Just something that people who are looking at this could sort of take away as they look to not only underwrite but try to raise capital for deals.
Yeah, I've got a lot of lessons learned from that, and I'll tell you, man. Even to today, I'm not really focusing on the capital raising aspect of what I do any longer. I will. And it's in the works, but I've got other plans that I'm putting into play right now, because I did start teaching people how to do this. But for capital raising, I did it the hard way, man. Brute force. It was rough. It was all memory and an Excel sheet that I had with people's names and their phone numbers and their email address. And every time I had a deal that fit the criteria of somebody that I had met, they would come to mind, and then I would search for them on, which is highly inefficient. Well, my Tesla turned on, and it's in Florida, so I'm kind of baking here. It was very inefficient for me, but I had enough close relationships where I was on the phone calling these folks, letting them know, hey, I found a deal that fit the criteria, that's in a market that you were interested in. Would you like to see the information? I would do presentations going over the pitch deck from the operators. And I would explain why the pitch deck was pretty much self-explanatory. But my big thing that I think really helped seal the deal was explaining to the investor why I believed it wasn't as high risk as all the other things that I had shot down previously. And I'll say, look, we have the opportunity to go in well below market rents. The population is thriving. The area competitive occupancy is through the roof. So there's just a lot of demand in the area. And it's got a diverse, work economy. All of these different factors that came into it. Ultimately, it was like, what is this one property going to do? Where is it at? And could the future rents be sustained by the amount of money that people were making? Right. So if it never happens for me, and I guess here's a really quick underwriting tool. Whenever I look at the median household income of whatever census tract where the property is located, I would take that number and I would divide it by 36. That would let me know the upper end of what people could reasonably expect to pay, because that's a cheat code to basically figure it out. 30% DTI over 3 years. DTI is debt to income ratio. which you don't want people spending more than 30% of their income where they on their rent, because then you have other things like, the life expenses, they got, health insurance, they got kids, food, family, going out, living their life, all that other stuff. And so it's also something that some of our property managers, whenever they qualify somebody who's going to be for a lease, whether they have a 30% DTI or lower, so that they know that they can afford their rent and it won't be a burden to them, right?
Yeah.
But so from the capital raising standpoint, just understanding all those different aspects and breaking down the numbers. Say, hey, Mr. Investor, you put $100,000 into this deal. In the first maybe 2-3 years, don't expect much of a return in the way of cash on cash, because we're basically using that money to renovate the property, right? Because if we start paying you distributions from day one, we're basically only paying you the money that you paid us, right? So we want to be able to have the property organically pay back these distributions, not have it come out from the money that we've raised, right? We're just robbing Peter to pay Peter at that point, right? So we really want it to be a true investment. And that's actually kind of typical, especially on the larger scale deals. Actually, anything that's like 200 units or above, you're never really going to hit 7-8% cash on cash in the first 3 to 5 years before you hit your refi. But the good thing is, and hopefully your operators are putting what's called a preferred return on there, because we typically do about 7 or 8% preferred returns, which means that even if you invested $100,000 and you have an 8% preferred return, that means we owe you $8,000 that first year cash on cash return. But if the property isn't quite where it needs to be, which it wouldn't be because we're still doing renovations for the next 2.5 years, and let's just say we only pay you $3,000, we take that $5,000 that we would owe you, and it becomes an IOU later on. So the next year we owe you another $8,000 on top of that, and let's say we can only pay you, $6,000, right? And then we have another deficit of $2,000 in the second year. So that adds on to the $5,000 we're missing from the first year. By the time we get to the refi, or maybe year 3 or so, when we're stabilized, we might be able to catch up on all that. But nonetheless, we don't, the general partners in a deal don't get paid one dime until the preferred return is all caught up. And then we enact our 70-30 split, 60-40, 80-20, whatever it is, that's organized. But 70-30 is pretty typical.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So having those conversations in depth for many, many hours, especially when it comes time to raising on a deal, man, it's like go time. So I'm off of underwriting and I'm on capital raising. And I've since learned, I guess, for anybody who's going to get involved in doing capital raising, have a CRM, customer relations manager, something, MailChimp, HubSpot. I'm sure Jason's probably recommended a ton in his past videos or something like that. But use something that you can, mass talk to everybody all at once, and then figure out who would be interested in hopping on a call, so that you're not, wasting a lot of time and being inefficient as I was in my first year doing this.
Yeah, that is awesome, man. So I really want people. I hope people are paying attention to what you said here, right? Because what you've done is really given an outline through your own story about what's happened, right? First of all, you decided on multifamily. No matter all the things that you did that didn't work, you decided, first of all, I'm going apartments and I'm not doing anything else. I'm going to commit to it. You chose to offer value to everybody, as many people as you possibly could. You sucked it up for 8 months, right? Before anything finally gave in, before the universe was finally like, all right, if you want it that bad, damn it, here you go. Right. Yep. Then you got that, and you kept that momentum into 3,000 plus unit portfolio that will take care of you for years to come, man. So I think that's really awesome. I had this conversation with somebody not too long ago. They're like, I don't necessarily have any money. They were down on bad luck or whatever. And I told them to do exactly what you did. I was like, go learn a skill, go add value. And if you want to be in apartments, bring that skill value to as many people as you possibly can. So there were some questions that came in. One of them I thought was pretty relevant. It's like, are these deals that you find, are these off-market deals, or are you going through brokers?
Let's see. Most of them are through brokers. Yeah, most of them, because of the size of the deal that I'm doing. Perhaps my 40 units, the 42, the 48, I would. I wouldn't really call them off market because the operators on there are actually local brokers who want to get into investing as well. So kind of off market, not really. It's not direct to seller or anything like that. Um, but for the most part, I would say 80 to 90% of my deals are done through a broker. And the reason being is because when you're dealing with properties that are valued that high, the sellers know that like they're not, no one's going to send a postcard to this guy and try to like undercut him and sell him a low ball offer. They're like, no, I'm going to go ahead. They know what they've got. They're going to go through a professional like Cushman Wakefield, Marcus Millichap, whoever, and they're going to do a really good job getting qualified buyers. And they're going, and all those buyers are going to bid over one another to get as high a price as they possibly can. And then the broker's going to make his commission, and the seller's happy because they've got the best price on there. So going through a broker is most likely the right way if you're going to be doing anything that's going to be, I would say, north of 10, 15 million or so.
Gotcha. Cool. And all right, last question. Then I want you to share how people can connect with you, because we had some people who reached out wanting to know if you could help them with underwriting or assist, right? But the one question before that is, what would you recommend? Give me 30 seconds of what you give for somebody if they were starting brand new.
30 seconds for somebody who's starting brand new. If you're brand new, the same way that I was in 2020, and I didn't know anything, you have to go and get educated. Because the difficult thing about this business, I wouldn't call it a difficult thing. I say the beautiful thing about this business is that it's relationship driven. And the relationships and the people that you know is really ultimately how you do these deals. Yes, these deals went through brokers, but we have relationships with these brokers where we've bought deals with them in the past, and they know that we can execute with my various different partners that I have. And having that level of trust, right? They know that you can perform. They know that you're going to take good care of it. And then they know that when it comes time to sell, they're going to sell it back to that with that same broker, right? It becomes like, who do you know in the business, right? That's awesome. The problem for most people is that they're ignorant or uneducated about how multifamily really works or operates. And so when they have conversations about it, they sound incompetent. And it's not an insult. I'm just saying, like, people haven't done their due diligence. And even for me personally, it's like, I struggle with wanting to, I'm a very helping person. I want to help a lot of people. That's why I've done what I'm doing with the education company to teach people how to do multifamily. But you have to learn how to speak the multifamily lingo and have conversations from a place where people are not going to think this person's an idiot. They don't know what they're talking about. They're just going to waste my time, because there's thousands of people who are trying to get into the space. It's become very, very hot over the last couple of years with all the, marketing and the gurus that are out there. I mean, I took a guru course. The guru course didn't teach me everything that I needed to know, but they gave me enough of a building block to start having conversations. And then from there, I use my superpower ability of being really good in math and analytical skills to become a powerhouse in underwriting. Like, the guy who taught me could not do half of what I do in underwriting, right? So find somebody who will coach you and teach you the basics of what you need to know, just so you can start taking those baby steps. And then eventually it's your responsibility as an entrepreneur to fill in the gaps and get to where you need to be, either through more education, more coaching, more masterminds, more partnerships. But if you're brand new, that's the only thing that I can think to say to get started is you have to get educated, because you just can't do this business without knowing how it works.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And that, I don't know, like, I think you could stumble around, you could feel your way through it in single family investing. But everybody I know who has any level of success in multifamily, they they got with somebody who was already doing deals, and they learn. And if that person is an uncle or dad or something, you're probably going through a program. I know I've done, I'm probably close on 100 grand of just training that I've taken myself. Russell,
Yeah, man. We are living the same life, bro. I'm like 120 in on education so far.
Yeah. It's you don't start that way. You don't take like all one, but it adds up over time. You get your starter, it gets you a certain place, you get a deal or two, you do another one. Like, it progresses, right, as you progress. So good deal. How could people reach out if they wanted to communicate with you, find out how you can help them out in multifamily?
Absolutely. Where I do most of my multifamily content, my Facebook is mostly personal stuff. I post stuff about my family, my wife, my kids. Every time I close on a deal, I post about it there as well. But most of my multifamily content is on Instagram. So you can find me at Rasool CRE, commercial real estate, RASOOLCRE. And if you're interested in having me help you out as far as getting educated and getting started, shoot me a DM, send me the word mentor. And somebody from my team will be in contact, set up a meeting and see if possibly we'd be a good fit, because I don't like to work with everybody. It's always very, very particular. When I first found my first mentor, I jived with them. I resonated with him very well. And he came from a place where, yes, he didn't know everything that I needed to know, but he gave me, a couple of crumbs that I needed to just understand the recipe. And then I started baking my own bread. Right. So that's how that went.
Russell, 3 stacks, man. I appreciate you, man. Congratulations on all your success. And I appreciate you all who have taken time out of your Friday to listen to a conversation like this. I got a lot of value out of it. I'm sure everyone who's paying attention did as well. That's it. We're gonna sign it off and close it for now, man. I could chat to you for probably another hour, but we'll definitely stay in touch, man, because I want to chat with you about deals that we got going on. We'll see what happens, man. So thank you again. Thank you for everybody who joined in. I'm gonna sign off. All right, be the best version of you, because it's gonna make you the happiest. All right, I'll chat with y'all next week. Later.